killings and injuries, horrendous damage to the property, and untold pain and trauma. We want to share what we have done to ensure the atrocities that played out in the Phoenix are not to be repeated. These acts have no place in our society, no matter what the circumstances. We want to assure the nation that the crimes committed in Phoenix and surroundings or anywhere else in the country won't go unpunished. Also trust that today we can set the record straight by laying bare the facts. On the 12th of July 2021, the community members in Phoenix set up blockades and patrolled the neighborhood streets after start of mass looting and unrest in Durban. Some people in that community set up armed checkpoints as strategic access points to the area. However, the situation rapidly deteriorated, and soon the streets of Phoenix became scenes of crime. Problems started when some people operating the checkpoints turned into vigilantism and started racially profiling people, preventing them entry into the suburb. This amounted to unlawful discrimination and restriction of movement for mainly African people. According to the police reports, a vehicle with no registration plates carried looted items was stopped and searched at one of the checkpoints. 4 male occupants of the bakkie fired shots at the community members and the community returned fire. The 4 suspects fled into the bushes. The shootout resulted in 4 African males sustained gunshot wounds. One of them died in the scene. Their vehicle was set alight. This incident believed sparked other incidents of stoning, burning of vehicles, and further violence, including shootings, stabbings, and assaults. It is alleged that these road closures in Phoenix, some motorists were robbed and cars were ransacked, irrespective of gender or race or age. Some motorists were allegedly forcefully taken out of their motor vehicles and then assaulted with baseball bats, bricks, and sticks. Some people were even butchered with bush knives and other sharp instruments. It is alleged that some people were shot and killed and their vehicles were set alight. Aside from the detailed police reports that I have seen, I have had personal accounts of residents from neighboring Pambai, Zwelisha, and Maoti. They have told us how they narrowly escaped death with trying to enter Phoenix to access clinics and local pharmacy. Have also met with Phoenix community members who have condemned these savage acts, and many are coming forward with information that is assisting police investigation. The events in Phoenix, which I have lined, have claimed lives of 36 people. Our investigation showed that 30 of those who were killed were shot. 2 were burned to death, 1 was stabbed, and another was run over by a motor vehicle. 2 others died from the brutal injuries they sustained after being assaulted. In total, police are investigating 52 cases of attempted murder and probing 9 cases of common assault and 16 cases of assault GBH. Members of the media, police investigation continue, and these figures will be updated. Want to be very clear about this. What happened in Phoenix were criminal acts of the worst kind, which also took a racial turn. These acts have no place in our society, and the perpetrators will be arrested and prosecuted. A team of 31 experienced detectives from the province and national have been deployed to investigate, make arrests, attend court cases to ensure justice prevails. They have hit the ground running, and ladies and gentlemen, one is pleased to see their work closely with the communities. Their investigations have led to the arrest of 22 suspects. Some of these suspects are allegedly connected to several murder cases, while others have charges relating to attempted murder, malicious damage to property, and defeating the ends of justice. All suspects are currently going through the court processes, with some appearing in court for the first time as we speak. Detectives are investigating the role of the private security firms in the violence. The response of the local SABC to the events will also be looked into. Working closely with the private security industry, SIRA, the team of investigators has seized 152 firearms from 4 private security companies working in the area. 112 illegal firearms have also been seized during police operations in Phoenix in this period since violence started. There are 152 firearms that belong to the companies. But beyond that, there are 112 that have been found seized around Phoenix since this time started. The seizure of these firearms is within the ambit of Firearms Control Act, and the firearms have been sent for ballistic analysis. CAM has returned to the province of KZN, and Government Security Cluster has marshaled all its resources to restore stability. We have achieved this through collaborative efforts of multifaceted forces. This includes the SANDF giving support to the SABC and its specialized units such as public order policing, technical response teams, Metro Police, deployed daily to the areas of Phoenix, Bambai, Zolisha, Mawoti, and the Greater Nanda. However, despite that calm, we remain on the high alert. While much ground has been covered on the security front in Phoenix, the crucial work to rebuild trust between communities is underway. The Premier of the province will expand further on this. Nevertheless, I do want to take the opportunity to extend my appreciation to the work of the Peace Committee that was set up in the wake of these crimes. The forum consists of members from Bambai, Zolisha, Mawoti, Inanda, and Phoenix. It is these determined and committed women and men who raise their hands to be part of solution in the face of adversity. They stand together against the division sowed among the people of this area. This forum has worked with the SABC in facilitating the reporting and cases of missing persons. They have been at the forefront of assisting the bereaved families to identify the remains of their loved ones at Phoenix Government Mortuary. The Peace Committee is playing a vital role in ensuring that the communities they represent are kept abreast with information at all times. Peace Committee saw the light at the time when there was only darkness, despair, and hopelessness. Together, they put aside their differences and work towards the same goal. They have shown us the way. As I conclude, public perception of the crimes that took place in Phoenix has unfortunately been worsened by misinformation. President Cyril Ramaphosa has also rung the alarm of the dire impact fake news has on the truth of the events in Phoenix. He said, and I quote, "The proliferation of fake news, doctored images, and incorrect information have made it difficult to separate facts from fiction," unquote. I trust that the briefing assists in correcting the misinformation and clears muddied waters with facts to combat the lies peddled by people wishing to hide behind keyboards and online anonymity. Over and above that, this briefing is meant to illustrate the work done by law enforcement to ensure that the Kunguza, Mnungwa, Ndlovu, Nkomo, Lukhozo, Nzuza, Ntsele, Giane, Ngema, Ngiti, Mkhize, Majola, Cheti, Mwamba, Mncwabe, Tanza, Mfeka, Mchunu, Mochave, Khumalo, Hadebe, Mthembu, Naido, Gavenda, Nomga, Gama, Cheswa, Zuma, Chitawa, Msomi, Sibisi, Tusi, and Mkhize families find closure in knowing the truth about what have happened to their loved ones. These are surnames of the people that lost their lives in these events of Phoenix and surrounding. I want to assure these families that the police will continue their relentless pursuit of the killers and their accomplices. We are committed to upholding the law and seeking justice on behalf of those that lost their lives and their families. I thank you, Premier.
Thank you very much, Minister. Premier, please take your opening remarks today.
Thanks, colleagues. The Minister of Police, General Cele, Deputy National Commissioner, Lieutenant General Masimula, National Head of Crime Intelligence, Lieutenant General Matagata, Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkwanazi, colleagues from the media and all of you from various departments, we take this opportunity to thank the Minister of Police for his presence and for giving us the update on what has transpired since the unrest, especially focusing in the area of Phoenix. The detailed report that the Minister has provided from the Justice, Crime Prevention and Security Cluster, in particular the SABC, paint a picture of a government that is seized with the safety and security of the people of KwaZulu-Natal and South Africa. We wish to express our appreciation to the Minister for giving us this detailed presentation, which shows that the matter is receiving his untiring attention. Well, on our part, in the aftermath of the recent unrest and looting, as the provincial government, through the MEC for Community Safety and Liaison, we supported the implementation of law enforcement by the SABC. This was done with all the crime committed during the said episode in our province being identified and followed. Those who have broken the law, whether they were vigilantes or looters, should all face the full might of the law. As the Minister indicated in his remarks, in Phoenix, Inanda, Bambai, Zwelisha, and Kwamashu, as well as Amawoti and surrounding areas, we have seen the worst of these crimes, including murder, being committed in the name of protecting the community. We saw similar incidents of murder of innocent people in Chatsworth as well as in Northdale in Pietermaritzburg. We've heard of accounts of men and women who were dragged from their vehicles while driving through highways. Some died from assault, gunshot wounds, and others were burnt. We send our deepest condolences to families for these losses. In the midst of that despair, we are, however, encouraged that in Phoenix, Chatsworth, Verulam, Northdale, and many other areas, good citizens are standing up against these barbaric acts. We've seen groups of social activists in the Indian and African communities embarking on a campaign under the theme, All Life Matters. We have seen the ABC Forum represented by Bishop Justin Naidu, who is a group of churches based in Phoenix, pooling their resources and donating a car to one of the victims whose car was burnt, Ms. Zandile Mtini. The social solidarity demonstrated by the community of Phoenix in pursuit of peace and justice among all people across different races must be applauded. The Department of Community Safety and Liaison and the Department of Social Development, led by MEC Nkonyeni and MEC Khoza respectively, have been providing immediate support in the form of socio-psychological support, social relief, and food parcels for families in distress. These are families residing in Inanda, Zwelisha, Amawoti, Bambai, and Phoenix. Most of them are those who lost their loved one. A team of social workers continues to work with the affected families to ensure that they heal and come to terms with these losses. We sincerely appreciate the extension of social and economic relief package as announced by His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa that will support poor households and provide assistance to affected businesses as well as employees. It is our priority to bring peace and stability. So the increased visibility of security personnel from the SAPS and South African National Defence Force on the ground has added to stability and allowed the economy to move. Our second priority has been to provide relief and to support process of rebuilding with immediate but lasting effect. We are assessing the impact of civil unrest and are compiling our comprehensive report to the National Disaster Management Center. This will assist and support the provincial government submission for the declaration of the state of disaster in line with Section 23(1)(b) of the National Disaster Management Act. Currently, we believe the damage that was incurred in various departments at a provincial level stands above 2 billion and 53 million. Then for municipalities, it's 74 million. These figures are not final and are expected to grow as we consolidate our report. In line with what the Minister has said, ours in this regard is to ensure stability, and that must be a program that is sustainable. We are not going to always keep the high number of police and members of the SANDF. We need to build harmony and coexistence among the people, especially in the area of Phoenix and surrounding. It will be remembered that it was in KwaMashu where in 2017, under the leadership of the former Premier Willis Nkunu, we hosted the Social Cohesion and Moral Regeneration Summit. We have since formed the Social Cohesion and Moral Regeneration Council, which include prominent members of the society, and the deputy chairperson of the council is Archbishop Robin Phillips. We have also appointed social cohesion advocates who lead the campaign to ensure that there is mediation in areas that are affected by tension. The key objectives of the social cohesion and moral regeneration is to develop a comprehensive provincial strategy to address inter alia the following: 1, feeling of marginalization and exclusion based on race, perceptions that foreign and other African nationals are benefiting more than local citizens from the economy, declining morals which aggravate social ills in the province, sustainable solution to bring about radical socio-economic transformation to address socio-economic inequalities that persist, dealing with social instability, political intolerance, and political related violence. In the light of the recent civil unrest, on the 28th of July, we hosted the Social Cohesion and Moral Regeneration Council, and under the leadership of Archbishop Reuben Phillips as the deputy chair, and other eminent peace ambassadors, including former Premier Willis Mkhunu, together with civil society, were rolling out a program that seeks to intervene in the area of Phoenix, Inanda, Mawoti, and all other surrounded areas. Last week, we hosted a peace walk, which was led by religious leaders. We also hosted, through the organizations in Phoenix and Inanda, a soccer tournament which was attended and addressed by Bishop Reuben Phillips. These are not the end. We will continue with a number of events and programs that seek to bring together the communities of the affected areas. In the end, through art, culture, sports, and socio-economic development, we will bring all communities of KwaZulu-Natal as we seek to build a united, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous province. The work of the Council supplement the work done already by departments such as social development, sports, arts and culture, as well as community safety and liaison. We also want to take this opportunity to condemn in strongest terms the reports that some members of the community are intimidating journalists and stopping them from doing their work. The media is key to informing us and must be allowed to do so without fear of any kind of being victimized. With that, thank you, and we will continue with the program to ensure stability and coexistence of communities in Phoenix, but in the province of KwaZulu-Natal as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Premier. Thank you very much, Minister. And with those two statements, I think a lot of information has been filtered down to yourselves as reporters. Now let's go into the Q&A of the press conference. I will take hands. You know the drill. Introduce yourselves as well as the media house that you represent. Let's take the first 4 questions, please. Let's start with your first question.
Okay, hi, I'm Jason Tapia from ENCA. Minister, you touched on this in your speech, talking about fake news and the implications of that. You said that the President had also spoken about it. In this particular instance, and I guess in others, what kind of action is being taken against those that are distributing this kind of fake news that is contributing to the situation on the ground? Have there been any examples of people that have been successfully held to account for this? And just how are you going to limit that? Thank you.
All right, that's the first question. Go ahead, my brother.
Okay, my name is Osi Kumala from SABC News. Minister, if you can just shed a light with regards to the container that went missing from Durban Harbour. If you can also perhaps confirm if there were some rounds of ammunition that were used in some incidences that have already taken place in KwaZulu-Natal, whether Lamontville or Mobeni and also other sites, and also of the so-called instigators of the violence that took place in KwaZulu-Natal and also some parts of Gauteng. In terms of investigations, where are we?
All right, and Zanele.
Hello, Zanele G from the New York Times. I wanted to speak of Mr. Cele about the racial break breakdown of the murder victims, how many were African versus Indian, as well as the role of the private security companies if there's been arrests of private security officers for murders, or whether the majority was just private citizens. And then finally, can I speak of the Premier, how worried he is about further outbreaks of violence and the escalation of violence because of the racial tensions caused by what happened, and what government is doing to prevent that.
Okay, there's just one more over there.
Minister, sorry. Gosukonaduma from Eyewitness News. Minister, you say there's 112 people have been arrested. 112 illegal firearms have been captured. I just would like to understand the implications from or the consequences that have now the people who had those firearms now face as a result of that. Did you find them from one group? Did you find 50 from one house, or was it different individuals? I'm just interested in that particular detail.
Okay, let's take that for our first round, and then we'll go to our second round.
I'm going to answer the investigations on the hub.
Because the investigations are continuing on the ammunition found, the person that is more relevant to answer will be the provincial commissioner, Umkwanas. How far have we gone with this investigation? Fake news. Fake news is a big portion of the problems here. I'll never forget, Premier, when we were sitting in one meeting and we received the message that the eldest wife of Babu Msholozi has passed on, Umakuma. So if people can go to that extent, it tells you how much more they can do to cause the harm. I hope the new law that has been signed by the President is really going to assist with our law enforcement agencies dealing with this matter, because the harm is not small that the people that are running the fake news are doing in causing the trouble. But besides, even if you go to the regulations of the COVID, fake news is a crime even according to that one. Let's see how far they go with an assistance of the new signed law, getting these people in this kind of category of people dealing with the matter. Maybe that I link it with the question asked of the instigators. The last figure we had given by the National Commissioner 2 days ago to the Portfolio Committee, or 3 days ago, we have arrested 11 of those people. But as I was sitting with the Premier here, I've been given another name, which might be one of the big fish on the arrest of the category of that person. That person has been chased by the police for some time. He appears in many platforms of calling for this violence and all that. So he has been arrested, I think, this morning, which I guess will take us forward to break other platforms of the people that have come together. So how many would be? Last figure was 11. Somebody has been arrested, and there are other names that we are looking at them to come and answer on both instigating fake news and making sure that the trouble continues. That question goes with the instigators. Container Mkwanas will answer on that. Breakdown on racial issues. People that have died, it has been discovered that 3 of those people are of Indian origin. Those dead people are 36, if I'm not mistaken, the figure that we gave here. 36, 3 will be of Indian origin. And then arrested, there are 22 people arrested. I think 3 or 4 will be of Africans. So the rest will be of Indian origin. Those are the people that have been arrested. That will be the breakdown. Private security, there are 4 security companies that have been mentioned here, having been part of causing problem. I think it's VIP, KZN, is Royal, is Salman, and yeah, there are 4. Then there are firearms that have been confiscated from them, 152 of them, and they are going for ballistic tests. The police here are working with SIRA. SIRA is a regulatory body that is dealing with the private security companies. There have been a lot of abuse around of these companies. For instance, we'll find that the gun is legal, belongs to a particular company, but is on the wrong person. I can't be borrowing you my gun, moving around and all that kind of stuff. So we want to sit here and we want to say we are going to be very tough to the companies that have allowed their businesses to be abused in terms of borrowing the firearms out. For instance, you find that is a firearm that belongs to an individual, but you find it back to the gun shop. And why would you buy the gun, use it, and send it back there? And we'll be looking very closely to those gun shops, because it looks like there is a syndicate of hiding the wrongdoing that has been done by some certain firearms. So we are going to be really heavy on that one. 112, again, I'll allow Provincial Commissioner to respond on 112 firearms that have been found not belonging to the companies. But before, it's Premier that will answer his question before the Provincial Commissioner comes on.
No, thanks. Indeed, we are concerned about the potential outbreak of racial tension going forward. And that's why we think we should all be committed in ensuring that the Phoenix massacre and the killings that we saw in Chatsworth and Northdale does not happen in future. And that's why we are saying we need a program that deals with all social and causal factors. And that talks to the issue of racial orientation and understanding. To be an African does not mean that by mere fact that you're an African, therefore you are a criminal. And you don't have a right to travel and pass through some of the routes. And we do need to educate ourselves consciously so that in future when we are faced with such things, we don't embrace what others did. But we can also not run away from the reality that some of these areas, while there was an emergence of vigilantes, but drug dealers have been a concern. And therefore, we do need to deal with that and tackle that as it is. Then we need to socialize the community. Hence, we are emphasizing art and culture, sports, to socialize the community together. And lastly, we need to address the issue of socio-economic inequality. And I think those two are very critical. If we are to address stability, we need to socialize people to live together, understand that they are human beings. But if we will want to achieve a permanent solution, address inequality. And in addressing inequality, there will be no areas that will be preserved and dominated by particular racial groups. And this is as a result of the persistent legacy of apartheid. We cannot continue to cry about apartheid. We have to work to address that situation. And that's why we are putting in place programs that seek to address those things. Thank you. General.
Thank you. Thank you, Premier. Let me see, the issue of the investigation, I cannot explain it much because it becomes sensitive to some degree. But I think it's safe to indicate that the SAPS, as we are controlling the shipping containers that are coming into the country, we are profiling them. So as part of the profile, we in July, we picked up a container that was containing ammunition in the harbor, and we declined entry of that container as a South African Police Service. And when the incident happened during this looting at Mbilo, we discovered ammunition there. When we inspected where the ammunition came from, we found the same container that we had declined entry into the country. So we then registered the case. The case has been investigated to determine who authorized the release of that container from the harbor. So that is one case that has been investigated. So I cannot explain exactly the status of it now. But with the ammunition that eventually was lost, because the ammunition was then kept at the shipping company, which in terms of our laws, it was not allowed to. And it was kept in the container in the yard. And so the breaking on the container in the yard was just easy. And so it was not in compliance with the laws, beside the fact that it was there illegally so. So we registered another case for that, and that case is investigated by the DPCI. So the status of the case also, I cannot explain much on it, but it's safe to say that there are two cases related to that container that we are investigating. So there's been ammunition recovered and different operations that we've been conducting, some of them related to ammunition that are coming from that container. So I'll want to leave it there. The second part of the question is about the firearms, illegal firearms, as the police are conducting operations in and around Phoenix area. There's quite a lot of illegal firearms that have been found through roadblocks, through cordon and searches. And there are different types of firearms. Some of them, majority of them are handguns, but you also have some rifles in that mix. So I think that's just about everything that I can say. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, General. And should we take the second round of questions? All right, I do see quite a few hands still. I'll take you, my brother. Go ahead. Yes.
Thank you. You've written to the presidency asking that they declare the capital province state of emergency. How is that going? Have you received any response from national? And how will that assist in economic recovery of the province?
Okay, let's take one.
Sihle Zikalala from independent media. Just one question. There are allegations that some 4 police officers from Phoenix police station, they went back to the police station during when the massacre started. They released those illegally firearms that were seized by the SAPS, and they started distributing them to some members of Phoenix when many of those were released. Now, when are we going to see those people being suspended as well?
All right, let's go to this side of the venue. Go ahead, Minister.
Okay, Nampula Washope from SABC News. Minister, can you please react to the recent robbery at a police station at the main village in Durban State? And also, can you please react on the allegations that there was during the unrest, police ran out of ammunition and they had to ask from the SAPS clinics or ask from those who had licensed firearms to assist them. They said they were unable to assist those communities because they ran out of ammunition.
Just to be clear, is this in Phoenix?
In Phoenix, yes.
All right. One more question. There you go. Well, I'll just see if there's a fresh hand before you. There is one over there. Go ahead, my brother. Yes.
online. My colleague here is just asking me to be listening. Ukuthi ngapha ngempela le video babusela ukuthi deyasho siphuka keys kamasipala kunamadi amaningi aphethe nokuzosifunda.
Okay, let's take that as our second round. Minister, over to you.
That video also asked where was Cele, and it asked if Cele is somewhere drinking wine. That was the same video. Cele doesn't drink wine. It definitely doesn't drink wine. Or the first question, you got Premier. Allocation of police station. I think on the statement, we did say that you read, there are issues and questions raised by issues wrongly done by our members. And we did say that that investigation is continuing. IPIT is part of that, but police themselves are investigating some of those things. So until we really found out what is in the story there, we would not be able to comment. But be rest assured that investigations are going on, and with those investigations, the public will know exactly what has happened about them as soon as the results are found. The Northern Cape, yes. I've listened to some experts and analysts. One of the fake news that have been going on was that the depots and all police stations are going to be attacked and take all the firearms and all that. So I've heard analysts saying that is an implementation of that. While it's said to say this is a third police station that has been raided this year in South Africa. So it cannot be then that is an issue of this threat that has been happening there. Unfortunately, these are very small stations. And they've taken some serious firearms. I would agree, I think about 8 pistols and 3 rifles there, which is very serious for us to happen. But we are working on that. Yesterday, Deputy National Commissioner, the Deputy Minister, myself, and the National Commissioner, we met, and we did raise some things that we're going to do to redeem this situation, which might not be of this public at the present moment. Usually, these are small police stations where we find that there are 3 people in the police station, and 2 will get in the van, and 1 will stay, which means these criminals, they observe these police stations. It's almost a similar thing that in Northwest, we have 2 members of the South African police that were killed. They stopped the van that was carrying 18 goats, and those goats were stolen. And there were 2 of these members stopped these 5 people. Those members, for some reason, they were overpowered, put on the back of the van, and they were banned. So those are small stations that we are really working hard to improve that situation. But I want to repeat, it's not the part of the fake news that is there to say these people are going to be attacking the stations and taking firearms and ammunition from police stations. The other one is for Premier, and then I think what about many Indians? I think that is what for you too. Oh, the running out of ammunition.
And asking civilians for ammunition.
I wonder what kind of ammunition is that? Because police did not and are not allowed to use the live ammunition. If they had to get from the private citizens, they would got from them the rubber bullets. And I don't think that private citizens keep rubber bullets. So it doesn't tally. It doesn't tally for me. We send a lot of rubber bullets in this province. Our aeroplane called PC-12 flew a lot of them in this province, rubber bullets. But up to this point, well, I don't want to preempt it because investigations are going on. We haven't found where the live ammunition was used but actually the police restricted themselves much higher where with one problem we had, Premier, at Ishowe, where people looted, police were there, but they had only live ammunition. Now, they had to balance of those things, live ammunition, shooting everybody dead, and all that. So these are the things. Maybe one might not talk much on that one, but I would love to find out if ever the police would have wanted to find bullets, that would be rubber bullets, and communities don't keep that. So I hate to say, and I don't want to say, that might be one of the fake news, but investigation will go on and will tell us what happened on that one.
Okay, thank you, Minister. Premier, they would like to find out about the state of emergency.
Yes, two things. I think on the national state of the disaster, and this must be clear, it's not the state of emergency. The state of disaster in terms of Section 23(1)(b) could be granted and approved by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs after the Disaster Management Center recommends. So the province submit to the National Disaster Management Center, which has been done, and therefore it is for the center to engage with the minister. So the process is on. It is an avenue that we use to allow the department to reprioritize. And reprioritize means in your budget as a department, you budget for number of items, and then you are hit by the situation that is like this unrest. You then need to shift the allocation from one item to the other. So that is the first advantage of this declaration we are seeking. But the second is that we are then empowered as the province to talk to the national treasury to get more resources, especially for public infrastructure. So I think I've answered that question. The last question, a video about Sizopila. Two things that I could say. The first one, I think we do need to educate young leaders to be responsible. In a situation where there is a tension, it doesn't help to fuel the tension. You need to address the tension and provide leadership. But secondly, the statement is not factual. It doesn't need scientific analysis. Just a general observation from each unit in eThekwini, you will see. The senior management of eThekwini may be 70% African. And then you go down and down. And as you go down, the more you go down, you find many Africans than others. I would want to insist that, especially with regard to the economy, we need to do a lot to integrate Africans in particular. But we should not undermine the effort that have been invested by the government to ensure affirmative action. In government, in all departments, a number of municipalities, we have surpassed the target when it comes to affirmative action. And that should not be doubted by anyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Premier. Minister, because we are live streaming this event, there is a question that comes from a journalist who's not present with us today. And it is from a journalist called Dennis Delford from Network 24. And he's asking you, will the police be ready to handle any situation of violence at the Pietermaritzburg High Court when the former president will appear on the 10th of August? With that question, I will take the last round of questions, Minister. Any fresh hands before we take the old hands? Okay, so it's old hands. So we'll take follow-ups, Minister. That's in, and then you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Minister, I'm not sure if it will be yourself or the provincial commission that will respond to this, but recently we saw a case of shooting in Lamont, where there was a lady that was killed there. So there were different statements that were released, and in the community, on the one hand, was saying that they were attacked by police. Police were saying that they had come under attack there. So I think as much as I know that that is being investigated by IPID at the moment, and my question relates to these ongoing raids in search of these looted goods. How are you going to manage that situation without any bloodshed? Because it would appear, if those reports are correct, that communities are also, I wouldn't want to use the word defending themselves, but are standing up against the police, and there's a potential for bloodshed. So how do you manage that situation with getting back those goods that are looted, but at the same time ensuring that innocent people are not killed?
Okay.
I just want to pick up, Minister, I just want to pick up on your question of the appearance of the former president in the Pietermaritzburg High Court. There is a Twitter account that allegedly belongs to the daughter of the former president, Jacob Zuma, that is currently actively mobilizing people. We are still under lockdown, regulations are being relaxed. So what is the overall plan to ensure that that situation doesn't escalate, that incident does not become another super spreader event like the civil unrest that we saw? And just lastly, my question is to the Premier. There is a debate, Premier, in society about the characterization of what happened in Phoenix. Some people, like yourself, are referring to it as a Phoenix massacre, but I have noticed that the Minister hasn't used the word Phoenix massacre. I'm just interested as the leader of the people of KwaZulu-Natal. Why are you characterizing it as a massacre?
Okay. There's a few more hands.
Ow.
Go ahead, my brother.
Just to get the age group and also the gender of those who died in Phoenix, and perhaps the bodies at the Phoenix or legal, just to get the body count of those who are still there and those who have been buried. Perhaps they could go to the funeral.
I will get that information for you. They would not have necessarily the age groups and those information at hand. So we will definitely give you that information. And the last question,
Minister, thank you for answering my question about the private security companies. I just wanted to ask specifically, have they been implicated in any murders specifically?
What? Private companies?
Okay, that is the last question. There is one last request, though, Premier and Minister. Just to see in terms of that summary of our statements, but we'll do that towards the end. We can take those questions, Minister.
Angiqaleke ngesizulu. Umbuzo uthi sikulungele yini ukubhekana nesimo sokuvela kukaMsholozi ecaleni eMgungundlovu. Mangingaphosisi ngizocela ukulungiswa la nawo prime. Engathi kuvunyelweni ukuthi lelo cala liyovela ngokuqhakaqhaka. Sounds like the appearance will be on visual, if I'm not mistaken. I want the affirmation. They are challenging it.
Between the NPA and
No, but the last outcome, when the judge did put it that the next appearance will be on visual, it's challenged. Maybe let's wait for that, because it has not been granted that the case will be physical in my respect. Maybe until then, let's put that question. But but whatever eventuality, as the South African Police Service, assisted if needs be by other agencies, will be ready to handle that situation, whatever the outcome that will be. Lamontville, well, the police are complaining ukuthi ahlaselwe umphakathi uhlaselwe. Okwamanje somebody has died there, and that must be investigated. There was an exchange of fire in Lamontville. The members of the community, they shot at the police, and the police returned fire. As is, nobody knows what happened to the victim that died. Therefore, the investigation, including autopsy, will help us to find out what happened. That's what the IPID is doing. But that question goes on to say, does it help for the police to go and collect those stolen goods?
Sorry, I didn't ask if it helps. Sorry, Minister. I was just saying, how do we proceed to ensure that there isn't any unnecessary bloodshed?
Well, bloodshed should not be there at all. That should be avoided in planning of the police, but also in responding of the communities. As I'm saying that here, nobody knows the lady that died, how it died. Maybe there's part of that one, because we're not going to say he was killed by the police until the investigation tells us so. Well, I like the rephrasing of your question, is correct, because police will have to continue to do their work. If people if you steal, you commit crime. And we're not going to say you stole, you benefit out of the crime that you have committed. The law enforcement will still have to respond on that. Fully agreed with you, minimum or zero bloodshed is the best way we can do. But we are not going to say, because you stole, because you are fighting the police, and then you must get the benefit of the loot that you are looted. But let's make the call on the communities themselves to behave. The thing that happened in Lamontville, to punch at the wheels of the vans and the stuff that was loaded was unloaded by the community and all that. The community must also learn to work with the police when the police come to do their work, and the police must, as you and I will agree, do the work in the best way of still protecting the community. The issue of Lamontville is under investigation, but for now it's a general and generic call one will make to say, police, do your work, behave, work well with the community, but community, allow the police to do their work. On the security question, the investigations are part of it. For the fact that 152 guns are seized, and there are post-mortems that have happened, the ballistic test will tell us if those guns were utilized or abused, are found to have killed some other people. So those are the things. Sometimes these investigations, especially scientific investigations, don't take a very short time. But we're not ruling it out. There was a lot of movement of these private security firearms in the circulation in that particular time and all that. So we would not be surprised if we find that some of them were abused, resulting in the murder and killing of people. Thanks.
Well, the characterization of a massacre, it's literally drawn from the meaning of what the massacre is. A massacre is an act of killing a number of people, usually helpless people who could not defend themselves. So that's a literal definition, and I'm sure you will share with me that literal definition. So it varies. With the Transfit massacre, I think about 11 people died. We had the Shobane massacre, and you've got people who died here, 29 shot in the same area. So I'm not sure whether you would want us to be innovative to insert some concept outside the real definition. So we define it as such because of that. The magnitude differs from Transfit to Hiroshima. Those will be different kind, and it depends. But the reality is that most of the people who died, firstly, were innocent people who were traveling along the road. They died within the same area of Phoenix, within a particular period of unrest. They were helpless, not there to fight, and they were not even afforded to defend themselves. I believe I'm done. That was the question directed to.
Thank you.
Mhlambe manga uyisa ngesiZulu. Ngizosummarize nje konke sikushilo. Siyafisa ukuqala ukubonga ubukhona buka Minister uGeneral Cele, Minister of Police, ukusinikezela umbiko ogcwele ngokuthi kuqhubekani ePhoenix. Since i-unrest bekhona njengekwaZulu-Natal besilekelela kakhulu through u-MEC uNkonyeni ongu-MEC we-Community Safety and Liaison ukuthi abamaphoyisa bayasizakala ukwenza umsebenzi wabo ngendlela. Iqhaza elikhulu esilibambayo kulokhu futhi li-include ukuthi silekelele imindeni ebe-affected ngokuthi kwazi ukuthola isupport yokululekeka ngokomqondo, bakwazi ukusimama, bakwazi ukumelana nesimo, nokuthi sibalekelele ukuthi bakwazi ukuphila abanye ngoba balahlekelwe abantu obekuyibona abazinhloko zamakhaya. But ngaphekwa lokho sinomsebenzi omkhulu ngoba ayikho indawo ephila ngokugadwa ngamaphoyisa namasosha. Okubalekile ukuba khona kokubuyisana nokuhlatsana ngendlela emphakathini. Yingakho ke njengekwaZulu-Natal sihola umkhankaso we-social cohesion and moral regeneration okubuyisana kwabantu nokubuyisa ubuntu kuzo zonke indawo. Sine council engene kuma programs already abonakalayo okukhanda imphakathi efana nomphakathi wase-Phoenix, Nanda, Mawoti and surrounding, umphakathi wase-Chatsworth, umphakathi wase-Northdale, eMaritzburg, bakwazi ukuhlala babuyisane baphile ndawonye. Kodwa lokhu akuzoma, kuzoba uhlelo oluqhubekayo. Sisebenzisa isikakhulukazi ezemidlalo, ezamasiko, ukubuyisa ukuthi siyisizwe esisodwa la abantu okudinga baphilisane khona. But ngaphekwa lokho lolu hlelo lunengxenye ethi asikwazi ukuqinisekisa ukuthi umnotho ubuyela ebantwini, kungabikho uhlanga olusalele ngemuva. And kwisimo esikuso njengamanje kudinga silekelele kakhulu abamnyama, isikakhulukazi ama-Africans, ukuthi nawo aphume enhluphekweni akwazi ukungena emnothweni. Kodwa futhi kuyadinga ukuthi sifundise wonke umuntu okhona ukuthi umuntu akasona isigebengu ngokwebala. Khona izigebengu ezimhlophe ngabelungu, kube khona izigebengu zingabantu abomdabu basendiya. So ubugebengu budinga bungathathi ibala, kudinga ukudilwe nobugebengu buyibo. Yingakho sigxeka ubugebengu bokuntshontshwa kwempahla, sigxeka futhi nobugebengu bokubulawa kwabantu kulama masaka. Yingakho ke sithi bonke abantu kudinga bafunde ukuhlonipha umuntu nomuntu, siphilisane ngaphandle kokucwasana ngokwebala nangokobulili nangokweinkolelo zethu. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you, Premier. And the last part from the Minister, Mrs. Zulu, please.
Oh, uPremier ibekile nje. Ibekile uPremier ukuthi beso buyisa umbiko eprovinsini kaPremier njengoba sishilo ukuthi cha siyaqhubeka nokuzama ukufaka uzinzo ukuthi kube nozinzo ePhoenix nendawo ezizungeze njengobhambayo ezwelisha nakomawodi. Enye indlela yokufaka uzinzo there ukuthi kuze kube manje kunamaphoyisa akhona namasosha akhona, kodwa nje uPremier shilo ukuthi akakwazi ukuphila lapha amasosha namaphoyisa kuze bephakathi, bayaqhubeka njengeprovince ukubuyisa ukuhlalisana kwabantu. Okwethu ke masisebenza ukuvula isikhala nje ukuthi kwenzeke lokho, sikwazi ukuyibopha igebengu ezigila imkhuba lapha. Abantu ke sesibabophile lapha bawu-22 esibabophele ukuzama ukubulala nokubhidlizwa kwempahla. Kwabanjwa ke ibhamu enkampanini ezizimele ezo-152 eziyobhekwa ke lezo ibhamu lezo ukuthi aziyigilanga nemkhuba. Kwabanjwa ibhamu ezo-112 ezibanjwa amaphoyisa ke zihambe zivukuza nje ukuthi kugcwele ibhamu kuleya ndawo kuzosiza ukuthi mhlambe lezi ibhamu mase zihloliwe kahle baboshwa abanikazi bazo kwehle ukubulawa kwabantu ngeibhamu nangobhusha. Abantu abashonile ke lapha bawu-36 okwabantu akuboshelwe abantu ukuthi babulewe, kodwa uphenyo lusaqhubeka. Kungenzeka ukuthi lezo namba zikhule ekutheni abanye abantu ebekucatshanga ukuthi babulewe okunye kanti bafe ngale ndlela. Siyajabula-ke ukuthi amaphoyisa ithimba esilibekile lapha lamaphoyisa labaphenyi abaphezulu abawu-31 abahlanganisa abaseprovinsini naku-national bayaqhubeka nokuphenya. Sithembayo ukuthi sizokwazi ukuthi indaba zokubulawa kwabantu nobugebengu obuqhubekile sikwazi sikuxazulule, abantu bathole ukwenze njani. Upremier la izinto ecishe ifane ezenzekile khona njengako-Chatsworth nasemgungundlovu ekufanele siyilandele zonke makukhona isimo esinjengaleso. Sethemba ukuthi abantu baseNingizimu Afrika ikakhulu kulezi ndawo ePhoenix nendawo ezakhelwe bazoqhubeka basisize ngokusinika ulwazi oluthe xaxa ukuze sikwazi zonke igilamkhuba sifake kwalasha. Siyabonga.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, Premier. Thank you very much, General. I would also just like to thank the media colleagues for attending. Please don't hesitate to call me, and also to Sihle Zikalala from the Premier's office. And of course, for more localized queries, we are
well committed to upholding the law and holding to account those who committed atrocities. Police Minister there, Bheki Cele, saying he's setting the record straight regarding what transpired in Phoenix in that unrest in the early weeks of July. He says community members set up road checks preventing entry into Phoenix, resulting in killings, violence, shootings and assault of people based on race. 36 people have been killed, 30 shot, 2 burnt alive. The known cases are at the courts, he says. Some of the suspects already have other cases under investigation. They're investigating the role of security firms in the violence. 4 of them have been flagged as contributors to the turmoil. 152 firearms that belong to security companies seized, 112 illegal firearms also seized and have been sent for ballistic analysis. The Premier of KZN, Sihle Zikalala, also indicating that the minister has given him a detailed report regarding what happened in Phoenix. The Premier also listed several social cohesion-focused activities taken by the provincial government in recent days. I don't know, what are your thoughts about this feedback? Is it detailed enough, and does it get to the bottom of what happened during these few days? Let us know at @theagenda_SABC. Also, the Provincial Police Commissioner touched on that story of the container carrying ammunition that went missing and was found in a homestead. In these days, when the movement of a car can be traced, how do we justify not being able to track movement and time of movement and final destination for a container? Questions and more questions. On to this now, the United Nations agencies in